Well, welcome back to the podcast, Conversations with Jeff Bucknam. Dr. Jeff Bucknam is the lead pastor of Teaching and Vision at Harvest Bible Chapel in Chicagoland. I'm your host, Tommy Creutz, and we are going to have a conversation today with someone because we believe that everyone has a story. And but before we get into that conversation, we're going to have a little.
We're back in the studio today.
We're back, Tommy. I wonder if people could tell, probably by the way that we sound,
because of how it is.
If you're watching, yeah, you could tell by the way that it is. And if you're watching, you definitely know we're back in the studio because we're back to our old digs in these nice, comfy chairs. I will say I enjoyed the conversation that you guys had last time, you and Ed, and the conversation that we had about the dragons in the Bible. But those chairs were not the same.
No, very uncomfortable.
Very. Felt like I was hunched over the whole time. Did you feel that way?
Yeah. Yeah, no question about it.
So this feels nice. This feels like home.
Yeah, back in the old haunts.
The old haunts. Speaking of haunts, there's a couple things that we could have talked about today. We actually talked about them right before we went live. We're like, what should we talk about? Any one of these three things.
Okay.
So obviously baseball's going on right now. You have some feelings about, or maybe would you consider yourself, Jeff, superstitious?
No, just a little stitious.
Just a little stitious.
No, I don't. Except I find myself kind of tongue in cheek, doing things and saying things because I know they're stupid.
Yeah,
but I also believe that they matter.
Yeah, right.
Let me just be honest with you here. Earlier, my team, the Seattle Mariners,
that's your team.
Listen, my team has been terrible forever.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah,
this is why I really don't understand anyone not cheering for the Mariners. This is the little kid who's been beat up all his life, getting his one chance in the sunshine, and people are like, no. I want this team that's always in the sunshine to win. I'm like, stop it. You have to let this team succeed at some point. Yeah. They have to be allowed to succeed.
Do we not believe in underdog stories
They've
anymore?
never been in the World Series ever. There's not been a single game in Seattle in the World Series. They're like the only team in all of Major League Baseball that's the case. Yeah. Anyway, so Seattle is my team. They're perennially horrible, or perennially close, but also then horrible.
Okay.
So, but here's how it works. If I start cheering for them, they will lose.
Okay.
If I maintain a kind of distance from them, there's a chance they'll win.
Yeah.
So earlier they had 3-0, and I said something.
You were gloating.
I said something out loud about how they had 3 and the other team had nothing.
Yeah, I think you were like, in your face.
And then the other team scored 3 runs. Right away. Yeah, because this is the way it is. I believe that God is in heaven.
Yep.
And he hears me say those things, and he said, "Well, that's good, Jeff.
Yeah.
Here's 3 runs.
Jeff.
Here's 3 runs for the other team."
Yeah.
So the success of the Seattle Mariners is largely tied to me and what I say and do. Is what I'm telling you here.
So stop cheering,
basically.
And
they still might lose.
Yeah.
But the only chance they have is for me not to cheer for them.
Now you've been a sports dad for your whole life.
Yeah.
Pretty much, right?
So you can't also.
Yeah.
When your son's pitching, you cannot cross your legs.
Can't do this?
No, because if you cross your legs, that sends out the message.
Strike?
Somehow it moves the air so that the ball does not cross the plate in the right location.
Okay.
Whereas if you keep your feet separated, then the ball will go exactly where your pitcher wants it. I don't know. Listen,
You don't make the rules.
I don't make the rules.
Yeah, you don't make the rules.
It's science.
You don't cast the superstitious spells.
Dude, it's science. Not superstitious. Science.
Yeah, science. It's science.
So
it's the way that the electromagnets.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And
reflect off your kneecaps.
You know, while you're doing these things, how ridiculous and dumb it is, and how it's not a thing. But in your gut, you're like, I still feel like if I go halfway down the stairs and stand there for a while, they do better.
Interesting.
Not like that?
I have never,
ever.
I don't think I've ever been like any amount of stitious.
The
Super or otherwise.
There are people who wear, the wearing.
I've known.
Listen,
I've known
also
tons.
the wearing of clothing.
Yes.
Sometimes will frighten your team.
Yeah.
So if you wear certain clothes, your team will be frightened out of winning.
Yep. Yeah.
And then
Don't
other
wear
times,
yellow.
if you wear the good stuff, then they'll be frightened into winning.
Yeah. So you got to wear the good stuff.
Yeah.
So that they'll win.
Yeah.
And you better put on your lucky shirt.
Tommy, it's not idolatry.
It's totally not Christian mysticism. It's not mysticism at all. We're not casting little spells.
So ridiculous.
It's crazy. No, I've known a lot of people growing up in sports, like they would do their routines, every single time. And if they didn't, that's why I lost.
Totally.
I didn't do my routine.
And then you say to them
do it the exact right way.
Say to them, do they ever lose when you do your routine? Well,
like once.
Sometimes.
Sometimes you're like, okay, all right. Don't ask hard questions.
No.
Don't ask probing questions.
No.
That defeats the whole
we are ridiculous
smoke and mirrors.
People.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, that's
so
fine.
It's ridiculous, and I think it's dumb, and I don't know why I'm a sports fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is fun.
What most people don't realize is that your team, only one team wins the whole thing every year.
Yeah.
Only one team.
Only one of them does.
So everybody despises their team at some point, eventually in the year. At some point you will say, my team's awful, even if they made it all the way to the end and then they fell apart like the Packers do every year.
Yeah.
You'll say, I can't stand this team.
I don't think anyone actually likes the Packers, so it's
See?
crazy to me. Anyone in here like the Packers? Yeah. See?
So
proof. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 out of 6 people right here don't like the Packers.
Yeah.
So
my point is that it's dumb.
It is.
Sports fandom is a little crazy.
It's a crazy place.
We probably should take a breath a little bit more than we do.
Yeah. Maybe
I'm a little surprised that you don't do any of these things.
No. Well, I'm not much of a sports guy. I don't watch a lot of sports. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, so I watched a lot of sports in the 90s.
I've noticed in my taunting of the Cowboys, you really don't get riled up.
No, because listen, that the Lord says the vengeance shall be mine, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's God's team, so.
Is it?
I just let him deal with it. I don't need to deal with it. I don't need to fight God's battles. That's crazy. So.
Yeah, they're very bad.
Yeah, they've never been good.
Well, they were.
Yeah.
They were 30 years ago.
In the 90s, they were good.
Yeah.
That's when I became a Dallas Cowboys fan.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were really good.
Yeah.
And ever since then they've been
they've been very bad since the guy who owns them purchased them.
Yeah, Jerry.
And then for the first few years he was good. They were good.
Yeah.
And then since then
it's been downhill.
It's not been good.
I've seen him.
Have you?
Yeah. At the Rosemont Hyatt.
Yeah, he is.
I saw him. They were doing.
He's had a lot of work he's had some work done on his face over the years.
I wasn't that close to him. Yeah.
Well, he's had quite a bit. There was a year actually that he showed up, and it would have been several years ago now that he showed up, and his skin was a lot tighter than it was before.
I was going to ask him. I was going to be like, Jerry, have you done your charitable giving yet?
But now he's, you get older, you get it gets a little rougher. Yeah. No, I don't. Does he give? He probably does give to charity.
Well, I thought we would be a good one to give.
Yeah.
The lone Cowboy fan out here in the middle of the Midwest. I
don't think you're the only one.
I'm not. There's a couple of us. It's a small crew.
You guys aren't very vocal because you stink.
Yep. And mostly that.
Can I tell you, when I moved to Chicago, I've never really been interested in the Bears, except in '85 I was cheering for them, right?
Of course.
So
I wasn't alive then.
I know, but I was, and I was cheering
88,
for them.
baby. Let's go.
But I'm going to tell you, I feel an affinity to the Bears.
Okay.
Because they are an abject failure.
Yeah.
Just like almost every team I support. And I feel a kinship. And so I have found it much easier to cheer for them. Usually when I've moved to other places, there is a team in that location that is really good. And everybody cheers for that team. And I find myself wanting to cheer against that team a lot because I'm mad that their team is good and my teams never are good. Yep. So I have to cheer against them. Yeah. But in Chicago, I have found myself not having that trouble at all with the Bears, the Cubs, the White Sox, even the Bulls. Honestly, it's been very easy for me to be like, yeah, sure, I'll adopt that team because they kind of fit me.
Yeah.
Like terrible. And really don't have much of a shot.
Totally.
So,
yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thanks for supporting. Thanks for supporting us, Jeff. Well, yeah. I'm from Wisconsin, so thanks for. But
okay,
I'm here too. Brewers are doing good, yeah. No, are they not? All right.
Yeah, they're fine.
That's fine. Whatever.
They're fine. Every once in a while, there's a team from one of these small markets that all of a sudden shows up and does well, and then they're for the next 10 years after it, they stink again. Yeah. It's just the way the whole system works. So. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really. I think it's weird that there's a team named after beer,
but it's in Wisconsin, so it makes perfect sense.
Packers, Brewers,
Brewers for sure. Yeah,
why don't they name anything after cheesemakers up there?
That's interesting. Yeah, that is. The Cheeseheads. So that whole thing.
And is a badger a thing in Wisconsin?
Badgers are things, yep.
There's actually
badgers.
Have you ever run across a badger?
Maybe. They're more north. Yeah, they're northern. They're in the north. They're not in the Wilmots of the world, So but there are 6 bars in Wilmot.
If I went to Milwaukee and I asked people in Milwaukee what they think of Wilmots, would they know what that is?
What would they think of Wilmot?
Yeah. Is it Wilmots or Wilmot?
No, Wilmot.
Okay, whatever.
Singular. Okay. It's only one.
Okay.
I don't know that they would know it. Maybe they would.
It sounds to me like the Wilmots is a phrase that some Wisconsinites would utter at some point.
It's
over there in the Wilmots.
Yeah. They do sometimes put S's. They pluralize things that are singular all the time.
Yeah. Okay, so up at the Wilmots.
Over at the Wilmots, I says to this guy.
Yeah. Do you think people in Milwaukee know where Wilmot is?
Maybe. Milwaukee really though is it's like a tiny Chicago now. Like it's a small what does Chicago.
That mean?
Like it's just, city folk.
Oh.
So, I mean, it would be like, do city people know, where Bourbonnais is or,
No.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I just said a place.
Okay.
But it's, it's a small, I don't think so. I don't think you're finding.
What is the most popular town in Wisconsin? What's the most well-known town in Wisconsin?
Well, probably Milwaukee or Madison.
Ooh, Madison that's where the Badgers are.
Yeah, that's where UW. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, for us, probably the most well-known is
Seattle,
Lake Geneva. Yeah, probably Lake Geneva. Green Bay.
See, I never knew what Lake Geneva was until I came here.
Yeah,
so
here it's like the most well-known.
Okay.
We're in our area here in Illinois.
All right.
Because everyone, it's like the touristy place to go.
Wilmot's known for its ski hill, though.
Yeah, totally. It's so known for it.
Is there a ski hill?
There is a ski hill there.
Oh, see?
Yeah. But like it's like the people who know of it are people within 10 miles of it. They're like, oh yeah, Wilmot. Anyone else is like, we're driving right past that to go to Alpine, which is like the nice,
sorry, there's a place called Alpine in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Dude, you don't even understand. You don't even understand how big our hills are up there. All right. There's a glacier that came down through Wisconsin.
You're really stretching the meaning of Alpine, aren't you?
I didn't name the place. I didn't name it. I don't know what they're doing over there. They got great concerts though.
Can't believe they call it Alpine.
Yeah. In a place called, what is it? East Troy? Isn't that where? Yeah. Or they go to Grand Geneva, which is in Lake Geneva, which is a better skiing.
Sorry, I've been to Lake Geneva. There's no hills there.
There wasn't a hill in Wilmot either
until they dug one.
No, until they piled all the trash up, and then they built a hill around it.
Okay,
put dirt on it.
Do people in Wilmot they created that much trash?
I don't know. I don't know the lore.
You don't know where all the trash came from in Wilmot. Okay, so we are planning at some point on doing a live on location in Wilmot. at some cheese castle.
Yeah, no, that's not in Wilmot, but
okay. Well, something we're supposed to go to Wilmot at some point.
Yeah,
and we're supposed to do a live broadcast
on location
in Wilmot, and I will look forward to that, where we will get more information.
It's gonna blow your mind
about Wilmot and its 7 bars.
Yeah, and you're gonna be like, "That's the biggest hill that I've seen." Yeah.
All right.
It's gonna be great.
Okay.
Someday, look forward to that coming in, probably season
whatever
14, 15.
Yeah.
But you guys are going to have a conversation right now.
We are.
And it's going to be a great conversation. You are having a conversation with Dr. Kilner. And I don't exactly know the exact topic you guys are talking about.
It's going to be about bioethics, I think.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So that's going to be a great conversation. And you guys are going to jump into it right now. Let's go. What?
Wilmot sounds amazing.
It is amazing. It's an eclectic town. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I have the privilege of sitting here with Dr. John Kilner. Dr. Kilner, or John will allow him. He'll allow me to call him John. John, can you tell me just a little bit about yourself? Where are you from? How did you get that doctor in front of your name?
Well, I grew up in Wilmette, Illinois, as a kid, and all the way until leaving for college. And I suppose one of the most life-shaping experiences of high school is that somehow I got into debate and did well at it. And so that set a life course for me. If you did debate, you became a lawyer. So when I went to college, it was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. But then sophomore year in college, I became a Christian. Now, this is not to conclude that if you are a Christian, you cannot be a lawyer. That's not the point I'm making. But I did have a profound sense of questioning about that. I really had a sense that I don't think that's what I'm meant to do, but I couldn't figure out what it was. And so at the last minute, I came across this fellowship that was being offered to people. If you didn't know where you were going, but were interested in exploring a year of theological study, apply for this fellowship. So I did, got it, went to seminary on the basis of that. 1 year became 2, 3. I completed the Master of Divinity degree, but I didn't have a sense that God was leading me toward pastoral ministry either. And I remember a profound discussion one day with one of my profs about how to put all this together. I developed an increasing sense of a burden for people suffering and the problems of the world. And the prof helped me combine that kind of burden and vision for doing something about it with my particular gifts and abilities, which were more in the area of research, writing, teaching, whatever. So he said, looks like you need to get a PhD. I remember coming home that day and telling my wife, who had seen me through 3 years of graduate study already, like we got another 6, hon. It's not a happy event.
She wasn't thrilled with the idea?
No, not exactly. Very supportive, though, always. So I went on from there to master's and PhD work in ethics and contemporary culture.
Yeah.
And the first semester, I took this course on bioethics. It was this emerging field, not a lot of people had heard of. People had heard of like abortion.
Yep.
But there's even then you could see there was a host of issues in healthcare and biotechnology rapidly coming down the pike that were going to shape people's lives profoundly, and all of life, and even the future existence of the human race. And so I thought, wow, what an area to devote a lifetime to help people all the way from the individual family level all the way up to the biggest societal questions that we have to face. So that set the course.
That's great. And you you were involved in, where did you work for most of your days?
Right. Well, so that really looked like graduate level teaching, because for there to be a substantial amount of research and writing, that fits best with graduate level teaching. So I started teaching at the seminary level at Asbury Theological Seminary.
Yeah.
And and then from there moved to Chicago to work for a while in a bioethics center. But after a couple of years here, a foundation put up some money to gather together like 10 leading Christians who were involved in the field of bioethics to wrestle with the question, okay, everybody knows about abortion, but aren't there a host of other issues rapidly coming down the pike? And why is there so little knowledge or engagement about it? And the result was, that's exactly the case. So we better develop something to mobilize the church and mobilize engagement. So that was where the Center for Bioethics and Human Dignity was born. And because I was the only one in the group that had practical experience in working in a center, they're like, John, why don't you come direct this thing?
You're in charge.
So
good.
I'm like, so do we have any money? No. Can we do anything? No. So how are we going to track funds if we're not doing anything? I mean, you know how that works. So.
I do.
Yeah.
Right. So I am actually really interested. Bioethics is, it is front and center these days regarding, there's the questions regarding what is a human, what does it mean to be human, but all questions about life and death, ultimately, beginning of life and the end of life are huge and politically, I don't want to say complicated, but I do want to say tense.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you really straight questions. You can tell me if I shouldn't ask those straight questions if you want. But you're an expert in the field. So why should I abhor abortion? And I'm asking particularly as a Christian. But even if I'm not a Christian, what about that particular issue is bad?
Right. Well, you know what it all comes down to is not just what your position is on an issue, but why you hold that position. And I think if we are to be able to engage with people who have different ways of thinking, I'm just struck with how people are just shouting past each other, and conversations they're not productive at all. And I think that Christians need to realize that the place of disagreement isn't just over the issue itself, it's how we even think about such things. How people are thinking about abortion outside of a Christian context is typically what's a very common worldview today and way of thinking, and that is it's all about me. It's how I look at it. It's my body, my life, my choice. Whatever I think is right is what's right for me. Whatever I think is real or true is what's right or true or real for me. So that is a very different way of looking at things than a Christian way of looking at things, because a Christian is going to say, no, there are things that are true and real, objectively so, about the world. We know this with regard to the physical world we live in. If I come to the edge of a cliff and say, hey, I'd like to walk off into space there, that would be like quite a fun experience. And I don't believe there's a drop off here. I don't believe anything's going to happen to me if I do so. That's not part of my reality. So I can do that and live accordingly. Well, you're going to find out very fast that that's not the way the world is. And so the only question is all there is to this objective reality what meets the eye? or
just
is there a
physical
spiritual
laws?
dimension?
Yeah, or is
type of
there
thing?
something else?
Now, you could come down on either side of that question, but either way you do, that's a faith decision. It's not that some people are operating out of faith and therefore kind of out of reality. No, we all know there's a reality, and the question is, what does that entail? And everybody comes to a faith conclusion about that. Are you telling me that an unbeliever knows so much about the entire universe that they can tell you that, I've examined every place in the universe, and I can tell you there is no such thing as a spiritual existence.
Right. There's no immaterial world.
That's a faith conclusion. So you have to look at the evidence on both sides. And so Christians are looking at that and saying, you know what? It makes sense to me, more sense to me, that there is a God than that there isn't. And in these moral issues, that has a lot to do with, I know you've had in this series a discussion with Kyle Meeker about the evidences for God or for why God exists. And this is the moral argument right there. It's when people look at it and they say, yes, I know there's meaning and purpose and significance. I think that people would widely agree that people matter. You can't go around abusing people and killing people and whatever. And so once we recognize that there's an agreement about that, then there's a question of, well, how can you make sense of that? And the view that people are supporting abortion with, that it's just all up to me, whatever I think, whatever, that not only can't support the idea that all people matter, it actually cuts the foundation right out from under it.
You've been around a while, so have you noticed a shift in the way that people argue for abortion? I have, and so maybe I should just state what
what are you thinking?
Well, it used to be a case, I think, years ago that people, it was considered politically that abortion should be, and the language was used, safe and rare, I think, or safe, rare, and legal, or something that I remember back in the 90s. That was kind of the Clinton administration's thing. And so it even in those days, it was a regrettable decision that came to because of a series of horrible circumstances in the life of a woman or something to that effect. But I found in the last little while, there's almost a change in the tone where, no, it's actually not a moral evil. It's kind of a moral good, because as you said, the centerpiece of everything is self-actualization. It's
exactly.
The goal of my life is to be able to control my own future, to be able to control my own body, to be able to control whatever I want to control. And this child or collocation of cells or whatever, it stands in the way. And so it's immoral for a person to object to me not being able to fulfill or actualize myself.
Well, right. I mean, that's exactly the case. And the problem right there, though, is that is it true really that you're the only person in the universe that matters? Or is there anybody else in this equation? And then you say, well, how are we to view embryos and fetuses and that sort of thing? And it's often dismissed as, oh, that's just like a religious matter or a faith matter or whatever. This is just a pile of cells or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I've even heard the terrible language, quite honestly, that it's a parasite or parasitic.
Oh, right.
Meaning that's the right definition of it, which is an amazing dehumanizing statement. I mean, I honestly, absolutely. It's remarkable.
Right. Well, and the crazy thing about it is that position, that view, is so unscientific. Now, often, Christians are labeled as, oh, well, they're on the out in faith land, rather than reality and science. But I mean, when you're dealing with a question of with an embryo or a fetus, are we dealing with a human being who ought to be viewed and respected and treated like human beings ought to be? Well, okay, let's look at the question. Okay, are they human? Well, genetics has, I mean, that's a relatively recent development, but now genetically, it's not even a question. I mean, that is it is human as opposed to any other form of life. And is it a being? That's a biological term. Is it just a pile of cells, like a piece of skin is a pile of cells? But it can't, if given normal environment, develop into a full human being. Well, an embryo or a fetus is absolutely a being. Yeah, so it's a human being. That's just the science of it.
And the thing that's always been so compelling to me is the knowledge that logically it's so inconsistent to say that we should be able to kill a human being at this particular stage of development, but not at this stage of development. If that makes sense.
Right.
That I struggle with that, because I'm like, well, if you say that we can kill the baby in the womb, you're just saying that we get to kill it at this stage of its development.
Right.
And why can't I kill it then at 1 year after the womb?
Right.
It's still massively dependent on a parent. It'll die if there's, do you know what I mean? If left alone.
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't understand. And there have been people, there have been, I think it was Steven Pinker or something, who ended up arguing that yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We should be consistent. We should let people kill their children after the womb. And I'm like, well, at least you're being honest.
Right.
And consistent with it.
And most people would absolutely. I remember there have been some amazing interviews, and I remember when Dan Rather on 60 Minutes was interviewing somebody who said, well, yeah, that would be the logical implication of that. And that's the only time I've seen Dan Rather like speechless on 60 Minutes, just like, I mean,
right.
The scripture is so insightful about that, because like when you have Mary going to visit Elizabeth, and it says the child leaps in her womb. It uses the same word in Greek. I mean, you could use various different words, but it uses the word that elsewhere throughout the New Testament always means a child, a born child, like the children that come to sit at Jesus' feet and that sort of thing. It's just the recognition that a child is a child. I mean, whether it's inside the womb at this point in time or not, or whatever, has nothing to do with its value or significance.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the way that the scriptures speak, theologically as well, I mean, Jesus was fully God, fully man in the womb.
Yes.
And so it's very difficult to hold that viewpoint and then argue that, an unborn child is not.
That's right.
A child.
That if you discarded it as long as it was before birth, it wouldn't be anything significant.
Yeah. Do you find, how do you find the culture as it pertains to this subject these days? Do you think that there is a move in the United States in favor of people believing more that in a pro-life position, or do you think that we are going the opposite way, or is it just everybody kind of has their view and we're stagnating?
Yeah.
And then my second question is, how do you think Christians should engage with this issue in the public square?
Right. Well, I think that there are, various settings in which there's movement in both directions. I mean, both an increase in pro-life sentiments and movement in the opposite direction. If you want to take a look at the culture as a whole, kind of one bellwether for this is there's a very close tie between the abortion issue and the assisted suicide issue at the end of life. The rationales are very similar. It's my life, my choice, what I want to do. And there, the laws are much further behind. I mean, there hasn't been state, legislation on that in most locations. And so what's happened now is it's gone from, no states having legalized that practice of assisted suicide up to 11 states now have legalized the practice. Of course, Canada has as well.
I was just sitting here as a Canadian thinking to myself, man,
that's right.
It's called MAID in Canada.
I know.
Medical assistance in dying.
Yeah.
MAID. And
yeah.
I think,
oh my goodness.
I think that 20%, I might be wrong about the statistics, but something like 20% of the deaths in Canada now are attributed to.
Yeah. And don't
MAID.
even get me started on that term, because proponents of the practice have changed the term from assisted suicide precisely to try to get it
want to sound nicer,
legal.
Right?
And like, oh, you mean it's not legal to have medical assistance in your dying? I mean, I know when I'm dying, I'd like to have medical support and assistance. So if that's not legal, then yeah, let's go ahead and get it legal.
Language matters.
And they want to take the word killing out of it.
Right.
But if it is clear that that's what killing is being discussed, that's where you've got a very sharp distinction, and this applies to assisted suicide and also to the abortion issue. Once you're clear about, we are talking about taking a life, so is that okay or not? Well, if the only way of thinking is my choice, my body, what I want to do, well then, okay, you're talking about it's okay for you to make a choice. But how about if other people want to make their choices and that's going to be harmful to you? There is no protection against that. It's every person for themselves. That's the situation. That's the culture that's the outlook on life we're talking about. And that's where a biblical way of viewing things is so powerfully different, because immediately you recognize, yes, only if there is some authority or perspective beyond the individual can there be any sort of protection. Only if human life matters because there's a reason it matters, not just an individual choice and one person saying yes, one person saying no, but only if there is a reason beyond the individual. And of course, we know biblically that not only does God exist, but that people are created in God's image, which means that we have a special connection with God, Genesis 1. And so Genesis 9 then says, you cannot kill anybody, because it's kind of like God saying, hey, they're with me. You mess with them, you mess with me. That's what's going on there. And so, well, wait a minute. Then it makes no difference if it's my life or anybody else's life. I don't even have the right to take my life, because it's not whose life it is, it's God's life. Yeah. And so that's where I think we have such a powerful position as over against the culture, because this idea of it's all about me just does not hold up to people's deepest values.
Yeah. There's a saying that, and I don't know who coined it, so I attribute to whomever said it, but the difference between biblical Christianity and what I'd call secularism is an apostrophe, and it's we are either gods or we are gods.
Love it.
And I think that's the point you're making is we get to either determine that, we're all alone in this universe, and I get to determine and be the divine conqueror of my world, or I submit myself to the divine conqueror of the world, or the divine, the God who made the world, who loves the world, who has plans for the world. We either belong to God, we are gods, apostrophe S, or we are gods, and then we get to determine all of these things. And that, I think, that's the challenge, because I think you would agree with me, of course you would, that it doesn't matter what you believe about what's real. It's what's real exists.
Right.
So you can think there's no God and that you get to determine all of these things and live in that way, but that doesn't change. God didn't all of a sudden disappear.
Right. Exactly.
And his world still functions the way it functions, whether you want to or not. That's why I love your example of walking off a cliff. You're like, oh, look, you're gonna face reality.
Yeah, that's right.
Right away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Do you think that the approach Well, actually, I want to ask you a little bit about medical assistance in dying, and I agree. It's a bad phrase because of my background in Canada, and I've seen the proliferation of it so much.
Yes.
Is this is an increasing issue then in the United States?
Yes.
And how should Christians interact with that subject as it comes upon us in our states and because increasingly there are going to be more and more, especially if people get older.
Right.
There are going to be more and more people who are like, yeah, I'm tapping out this Friday.
Yeah.
Or something. Can you give some help?
Right. Oh, absolutely. I think there's two ways to approach it. One is to wrestle with the way of thinking about it, the way of justifying it, and the other is to look at various communities within the secular community that find this absolutely atrocious, and to find out why. So, I mean, the first point we've already been talking about. I mean, it's that this idea that, well, it's my life, I can do with whatever I want to. That just is not something that jives with the deepest convictions that people have. I mean, if you say, okay, is it okay to have a world where there's no such thing as truth or justice or caring? And probably even the proponent of assisted suicide say, oh, no, that would be like a terrible thing. And it's like, well, so if you're saying that what makes something right, what's the right thing to do, the right way to live or whatever, is just what you think is right for you, and then if somebody else thinks completely different, they think that, no, there's no need for justice. No, you don't need to be treated fairly. No, nobody needs to care for you. Well, then there is no basis for having any of those things in society. Is that a world that you really want? I mean, I think you can just, on the one hand, just really take apart the way of thinking that people are using to justify, and people are just like resonating it because it's just been breathed into the culture that, oh yeah, my right, my life, my choice, that makes sense, but it does not make sense. It completely conflicts with our deepest convictions. But the other thing I would say is, yeah, look at groups in society. Okay, who would you think would most support the movement toward legalizing this practice? Well, I would think, first of all, doctors. It gives them another, if you have physician-assisted suicide, it gives them another option.
Yeah.
I mean, giving another option is always a good thing, right? The American Medical Association and all the major medical associations are absolutely opposed to legalizing the practice. And I don't think people know that. It's like, really? Why in the world would that be? And it's simply because what medicine has always stood for is sustaining life and relieving suffering. Those are the kind of the two pillars. Well, you bring ending life into the practice of medicine as a part of what it may be about, and suddenly people can't trust medicine. Now, so proponents will say, oh, no, that's not a problem. When you see these laws, there's like there are these 20 careful protections, only under these 20 conditions, if they're all met, can we legally go ahead with assisted suicide. I'm like, okay, now let's get real here. You've got the patient sick and in bed and dying and in all sorts of straits, and you're telling me that they're supposed to assess. Let's go over these like 20 considerations and see whether this doctor is going to be, bringing a fatal dose to.
That's not how it's working in the places where it's been legalized. So, I mean, this is as a Canadian.
Yes.
What's happening in Canada is that you're getting 22-year-olds who are suffering with mental health, opting for dying.
Yeah.
And what you have is doctors who want to ease their suffering.
Yes.
And can't solve the problem, right? Because a lot of the mental health stuff is just managed, right? Just like any kind of, chronic pain or stuff, they can manage it, but they're not going to take it away. So they are, and you have a bunch of doctors who basically are in some sense, I'm not saying they're atheists, but they don't believe in a life after death or they believe that everybody after death is all happy and cheery. There's no belief in hell. But if there was a belief in hell, they wouldn't be talking about alleviating suffering by killing you. So they've abandoned themselves or separated themselves from the Christian worldview.
Yes.
And because they've done that, then, this sort of makes sense. And they're not going to say no to somebody who's at any stage of suffering for that person. And that's what's happening in Canada, is you're getting so many of these doctors being like, no, it's fine. It's no big deal. And you're getting more and more young people. Think about the number of people that you know or I know who are suffering with mental health challenges, who are in their teens and 20s and things. And you hold out to them,
right?
You 24-year-old young woman who suffers with her own, mental health challenges, and you say to her, we could try to treat you with, all of these SSRIs. We could try to treat you with, other things, or we could end it, and you would go to the blissful peace of nothingness. And the answer is, well, I'm going to take the blissful peace of nothingness. So my point is the worldview is killing people. I think it's terrible. It's a terrible worldview.
Right.
And it's destroying people. And my biggest concern is that as Christianity fades in its cultural power or cultural influence, what's taken its place in the West is this weird secularism that doesn't hold many of the moral things that have made the West really a good place.
That's right. Absolutely.
And so what we're seeing now is basically dehumanization, which is what cultures have done throughout centuries, apart from Christianity.
Right. And everybody thinks, I respect those values of, justice and truth and fairness and that sort of thing. So I can affirm that what's right for me is whatever I choose, because I'm going to affirm those other good things too. But increasingly, that's not
but
what people are.
But there's no philosophical basis. There's no foundation for that belief.
It need not be there.
And so you might, because you're still living off the vestiges of a Christian worldview, but the further away from that we get,
that's exactly right,
the more and more we're getting into a place where people are like, well, why wouldn't we just do all the stuff that serves my own personal interests and not care about it? And that's why I always want to tell people that you wonder why it is that the things that are happening around us, which are basically dehumanizing, right? The rhetoric that we use in our politics, the way that we talk, the pornography industry, is all dehumanization.
Right.
You wonder why all this is happening. Well, a lot of it has to do basically with getting further and further away from, biblical idea that people are made in the image of God, and He endows them with worth.
Absolutely. And I think that where the church has an opportunity here, but we have to recognize this, is that the world wants to cast these issues into an either or. So they want to cast it like the abortion issue. They're going to want to say, well, we're concerned about women, and these Christians are just concerned about these fetuses and not the women. So it's kind of like, so which side are you on? The women or the fetuses? And similarly, with regard to the debates with regard to ending a patient's life, do you care for the patient? Do you want
them to suffer? Yeah.
Or do you want them to suffer? Yeah, exactly. Now, I think a genuine Christian position on both of those issues is not the either or, but it's very powerfully the both and. And what it is, in the abortion question, it's that, we care for and respect the life of the unborn child, but we also care for and respect the life of the woman. And we are going to be as actively concerned and outspoken about meeting her needs in a way that does not involve killing her child. And similarly, at the end of life issue, it's not just like, oh, no, you can't have assisted suicide. but we're going to be proactively involved in, well, what are the problems? What are the needs? Okay, there's the pain, there's the emotional and spiritual suffering, there's the lack of resources. We're going to be involved in aggressively meeting those as well. And so Christians desperately need to not be known in this culture merely as people of the don't.
Yeah.
Don't abort, don't assisted suicide. And that's the kind of stereotype that's out there. But in the first century, they weren't just going around saying, don't abort. They were finding abandoned children and adopting them into their own families. That's the powerful statement, I think, that comes from living it.
Okay, I want to ask you a weird question. My problem is this podcast could be 4 hours long, and so I have to limit.
Right.
But I want to. So this is something I have been wondering about recently. Mm-hmm. All right, we are getting to the point in our ability technologically to develop most human stuff, meaning hearts and lungs and arms and all this stuff. Okay,
right.
At what point is that thing a human? Or at what makes? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Is it right? Well, I think that the bottom line issue there is a human is a person merely physical?
Yeah,
and if all there is our physicality, and that's very much kind of the secular mindset.
It is.
And that's part of what makes us like that's an interesting question, because it looks like we can do more and more of this, and ultimately, why couldn't we, actually replace every part in the body? I mean, that's the whole agenda of trying to live forever.
Yeah.
We'll just replace everything, as needed and continue to go. But from a Christian perspective, we know that that's not the case. There's more to our being and our existence than we are an embodied soul or an ensouled body. There's more than that physical dimension to our existence. It's not that these are two separate things. No. I mean, we are one person, but we're not reducible to merely that.
Yeah. And we're not. And it's one of the crazy parts of all this discussion around some robotics and other things like that, is that there is sort of an assumption made that, well, would they have human rights, or you're like, well, God breathes in us the breath of God, right?
Right, exactly.
And that's the point at which humanity takes place.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
In the end, I think I've talked to some Christians who feel threatened to some degree by the technological marvels of our day, but unfortunately, I don't know how well versed a lot of Christians are in what you just stated, in that we are body and soul, or material and immaterial.
Yes.
And sometimes we only think of ourselves as material, and then sometimes we only think of ourselves as immaterial, right? Like as our bodies are just a cage that we just want to free ourselves from. Yeah. But the scriptures are actually pretty clear that no, actually our future is physical in the renewed body, and God actually is he renews stuff he makes.
That's right.
The world, he renews the body, and but we are also souls.
Right. Yeah, and there's one place here where I think Christians are in a little bit of danger, and that is that what makes this a problem from the secular mindset is that, you look at AI or robots or whatever, and you say, wow, there are certain kind of traits or characteristics of things that make people valuable that it looks like we're going to be able to create things that are even better in those regards. So that's a problem there if significance lies in these traits or characteristics or capacities. Now, the problem here is that over the ages, the notion of our core significance being created in the image of God has really slipped into a lot of misunderstanding because it's kind of imbibed from the culture, the idea of, well, what matters is having significant traits and characteristics and capacities. And so that has actually slipped in and affected the interpretation of what it means to be in the image of God, so that a lot of people will then readily think about, well, that must mean that, it's talking about we're in the image and likeness of God. That must mean that we are like God in certain ways. So let's see, what ways would it be? Would it be our rational capacities or our relational capacities? Something to do with with what we are or have already. Now, it's not a surprise we would go that direction, because who doesn't want to think of themselves as godlike? But that's not what the biblical concept is saying. When God says, I'm going to create you in, or the English would actually be a little more accurately, according to the image of God. God is saying that I am creating a special relationship with you, and I'm giving you a model, which is Jesus Christ. And it's not clarified until the New Testament, of course, that Jesus Christ is the image of God. People aren't said to be the image of God. It's said they are created in or according to the image of God, because Christ actually, as the image of God, is our model, our standard. And we are created to become like him. It's not that we are him. And, we sing in our hymns all the time, there is no one like you. It's like, wait a minute, I thought we were in the likeness of God. Well, it's not that we're like, that we are there now. It's a statement about who we are intended to be. What's the model, the norm, the standard? And so when you recognize that we are created and on a path and being transformed from one level of glory to another into his image, that's the picture, not that we are there already. Significance doesn't lie in how great our traits and characteristics are now, but it lies in the path that we're on.
Yeah.
Who's the model?
It's a really good point.
Toward.
And it's important because you can see, as you said, robots or AI being able to echo some of the traits and characteristics. They seem to have a mind.
That's right.
It seems to have emotion. It seems to maybe have a will. So if we can reduce the image of God down to those things, it's going to be really hard for Christians to say, well, that's not in the image of God. But there's something bigger than that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The model, who is the image of God, is that ensouled body.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Is that dimension that goes far beyond the physical.
Did you think when you first got into bioethics that it would be as central as it is now in the way the world thinks?
Well, as I went through this course, I have to go back there. I was just increasingly blown away, because we were looking at stuff that was not in the news. I mean, it was not everyday issues, the way it is now. I mean, there's 40 ways to make a baby now. I don't know if you knew that, but no, but you could see what was coming, and it absolutely has played out.
You actually still do ministry, or you've had some stuff. I'm asking you to advertise some of the stuff that you've done. Yeah,
exactly. Well, no, we recognize here at Harvest that this is a matter, first of all, of Christian discipleship, and that people don't just kind of intuitively know what are we to make of these 40 ways to make a baby? Like, what's okay for a Christian to do and not do? And what should I think about assisted suicide? Or even if I'm clear that would be problematic, do you ever reach a point where, like, enough is enough and you can, like, say no to the technology and treatments and the dying process? And you've got all these issues. So what we've done here in developing this Faithful Medical Decisions ministry is, first of all, we've created a website at harvestbible.org/medical, where there's really helpful biblical guidelines and materials to help people think through what it means to be a Christian in the face of these issues. Secondly, we hold seminars periodically and in different campuses around the Harvest here. And thirdly, we've trained a team of 20 people on all the different campuses, to provide personal consultations for individuals and families who are going through infertility circumstances or going through end-of-life decisions, or just want to develop an advance directive, which is a document that says, when I lose my capacity to make decisions, these are my priorities and this is who I want to make the decision for me. Yeah. We've even developed a tool, an online tool that anybody can use, and this is interesting. We've developed in a way that a person with any worldview or way of thinking can use, and it'll develop an advance directive that is in line with their values and priorities. A Christian will bring in their values and priorities, but anybody could use this tool. But in the middle of this tool, as you're going through it, there's an observation of, how aggressive you're going to be is going to depend upon what your view of death is. What will death be like, or what will it entail? And if you'd like to sharpen that, because that's a big issue for working this through, we have a video here for some information to help sharpen your thinking. And there's a gospel presentation in the midst of that. So this is a tool where Christians can share it with others.
Yeah, and that's the piece that I especially want people to hear, is that these are tools that actually can be can be accessed by people all over the place. And it's online. There's all sorts of opportunities for people to share it. So people in their setting or in the sphere of their influence will have an opportunity at several points. I mean, we do get in these conversations with people about all sorts of end of life, beginning of life stuff, issues, and we want to be a help to you. And John, thank you so much for doing all the hard work that you've done around this. I thank God for his work in your life and how it is he's brought you to that, and especially your contributions to Harvest in this particular time and issue.
Well, I'm really grateful to Harvest for the vision that they have, and you with your position of leadership, your encouragement of this. I think it's equipping today's people well for the challenges that we have.
Yeah. Well, God bless you, and thanks for the rest of you who are listening. We'll talk to you next time.